In 1993, 12 farmers in an Indonesian village pooled resources to form a credit cooperative. They started with 291,000 rupiah, roughly $20. This chart tracks how neoclassical economics models a microfinance entity over 32 years. At a standard 7% growth rate, the projection follows a flat path. By 2025, the model predicts an asset value of 78 million rupiah. The actual empirical data from Kalingkumang shatters this projection. The real growth curve is so aggressive it breaks the scale of the y-axis entirely. The cooperative currently manages 2.3 trillion rupiah in assets for more than 232,000 members. Traditional economic modeling missed the mark by a factor of 29,000. This level of miscalculation suggests our foundational tools for measuring organizational growth are incapable of reading the data. The Kalingkumang numbers aren't an accounting error. They are proof that the model itself is broken. Standard economics fails here because it views organizations as Newtonian machines. It assumes businesses operate through fixed, mechanical interactions, much like gears in a clock. This framework relies on the concept of homo economicus, the assumption that humans function as individual parts in that machine, moving only when prompted by material incentives. This mechanistic view treats trust and community values as soft externalities or marketing fluff. Because the math cannot easily account for these non-material dimensions, the model ignores them. When an organization's growth defies the laws of economic gravity, analysts have to look toward a quantum living system model to find the missing variables. In this paradigm, social cohesion acts as the primary mathematical driver of stability. Trust is the binding energy that holds the system together, allowing it to adapt and scale in ways a rigid machine cannot. To understand this kind of exponential resilience, we have to move past the corporate machine metaphor and study the physics of entangled social ecosystems. Top-down corporate structures are plagued by the principal-agent problem. The owners who provide capital and the agents who manage it have inherently conflicting goals, which generates constant systemic friction. Traditional firms mitigate this conflict through expensive surveillance and rigid contracts. Organizations spend massive amounts of energy just to keep their own employees and managers aligned with the company's survival. Kalingkumang eliminated this friction by adopting a structure that mirrors the quantum concept of superposition. In this ecosystem, a single person occupies multiple roles simultaneously. Every individual is structured to act as the capital owner, the borrowing customer, and the auditing supervisor at the same time. This blending of roles forces a perfect alignment between individual pragmatism and collective survival. There is no structural gap for a principal-agent conflict to inhabit. Structural superposition removes the high transaction costs associated with corporate hierarchies. By collapsing these roles into one another, the organization achieves a level of efficiency that traditional firms cannot match. The system's durability was proven during the 1998 Asian financial crisis. While standard banks collapsed, Kalingkumang faced the same macroeconomic pressures and survived. Rational choice theory predicts that during a crash, individuals will panic. They are expected to withdraw their funds and look for higher interest shelters to protect their own assets. This behavior was visible throughout Indonesia. Commercial banks were paralyzed by bank runs as customers lost confidence in the institutions holding their money. But the data from Kalingkumang shows a total reversal of that trend. While commercial banks bled capital, the cooperative's deposits increased by 15%. This occurred because of quantum entanglement, a state where the members' trust in the system became an inseparable part of their own financial identity. The absolute belief that the cooperative belonged to the members effectively neutralized the external panic. They viewed the institution as their safest harbor, defying standard financial gravity. Trust functions as a structural binding energy, an impenetrable shield against market volatility, proving social capital is harder than physical currency. The cooperative also expands its footprint differently than a corporate franchise. In a typical product push model, a central office designs a one-size-fits-all financial product and forces it down to local branches. Kalingkumang uses a demand pull strategy. New branches and services emerge only when members at the grassroots level aggregate their specific needs. Every new office and spin-out business grows upward from community meetings, ensuring that the institution's expansion is always rooted in the members' immediate reality. This shifts the role of leadership into something more akin to the observer effect in physics. Leaders in this system act as frequency keepers rather than issuing commands. They maintain a dense field of trust through radical transparency, sharing deep accounting details with the entire membership to keep the network aligned. This demonstrates that exponential scale comes from engineering an environment where grassroots demand automatically drives the growth of the institution. Measuring the health of a living system requires a mathematical logic that accounts for interdependence. Most corporations use an additive scoring model. Here, high financial returns can compensate for a total loss of trust, appearing healthy while the social foundation rots. The Quantum Cooperative Index uses a multiplicative formula. If trust drops to zero, the entire score collapses to zero. Social energy is the mathematical prerequisite for survival. Without cohesion, financial reserves are useless during a crisis. This proves that non-financial energy is the core driver of economic durability, not just a supplementary bonus for the annual report. We are in the midst of a global transition towards sustainable bioeconomies, where resource management and environmental stability are the new primary metrics. The extractive corporate machines designed for the industrial age struggle to adapt to shifting macroeconomic conditions. They lack the inherent flexibility of a networked system. The Keeling-Kumong story proves a highly adaptive institutional model is already working in the field, built by farmers understanding the power of collective trust. Starting with $20 and scaling to trillions shows that the future belongs to highly cohesive and tangled networks. To build resilience for the coming decades, we must cultivate organizations that operate as living ecosystems.